Guy, who's a chairman for Nephron Clinic, as well as Ranjan Dwivedi, who's a former DGP for Uttar Pradesh. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, we are seeing each other after a long time, but unfortunately, in some very, very horrifying circumstances. The story that we are really discussing at this point, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, the youngest here is a 6-month-old who has died. What is really shocking is the fact that since 2019, there have been multiple reports. There are residents there who have said they have brought this to the notice multiple times to authorities. Many people are now coming out and saying this is just a blind eye. Can you break this down as a doctor who's seeing such things unfold on media channels? What could this really mean? What would it mean to consume this sewage water? I'm calling it sewage water because it's literally toilet water getting mixed and contaminating drinking water. What would it mean for people who are consuming this?
Good evening. I think this is just a classical case of criminal apathy. This is nothing short of negligence amounting to murder. And when you're talking in terms of so many people, I'm not a lawyer, but I think this is just amounting to manslaughter. When you're looking at a sewage pipe water being contaminating the drinking water, that means the entire system processes maintenance, upkeep of the water supply and the sewage pipes has not been done. I'm not privy to which tender was cleared and which was stalled for any reason, known and unknown. But really what happens is that when the sewage water enters into the water which is for consumption, that means the drinking water, the sewage water contains a host of items which are non-compatible with life. So it contains a host of bacteria, viruses, fungus, heavy metals like arsenic, lead, mercury, organic compounds, organic phosphorus compounds. These are all lethal. And more importantly, it contains heavy toxic gases like methane, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, and so on. That's why the sewage water smells like rotten eggs. That's because of methane. All these are very quickly absorbed in the body, more so very quickly in children because the metabolism is that more fragile, and then it causes serious consequences. In this case, what I've been given to understand is that there is a particular bacteria called as E. coli. This is a very, very common bacteria which is found in a host of cultures, but this one through the sewage is what we call as the cytotoxic or pathogenic E. coli. E. coli is of various types. I will not go into the medical details, but the ones which are really disastrous for small infants are of a strain which we call as H7O157. This causes within 6 to 8 hours complete kidney shutdown. Children go into renal failure. They stop passing urine. The liver stops functioning, seizures, coma, and death. Is this what we want in 2026? The government servants must know that this is a government job, is not a passport to luxury till they retire. People have to be held accountable. Let the people be terminated and their pensions be stopped. That's the only way people will learn. If this was a private body, people would have been sacked overnight. We need accountability. We need transparency. Every life is precious. You have stubbled off the life of small infants which are few months old. Can someone please spare a thought for the mother who's carried this baby in her womb for 9 months? Can someone please care for the families who have lost even smaller children? Financial compensation is not enough. We need accountability. The sewage pipes in most parts of India need complete revamping, even in metros. And the process should start now.
Absolutely. Ranjan Dwivedi, a very simple question. You are a former DGP. Is this criminal negligence? A very pointed question. Why I am asking? Because this is not the first time. 2019, and I am only quoting 2019 because News9 has accessed only 2019 report. The 2019 report clearly flags multiple times that the water was not fit for consumption. Nothing was done. Very, very simply put, netas turned a blind eye to people who voted them to power for whatever reasons. You've been left high and dry and now with dead loved ones. Is this anything short of criminal negligence?
Snehaji, I can't agree more with Dr. Bagai. This is absolutely criminal negligence, there are two sections in law. One is death caused by criminal negligence, like rash driving sometimes, and in this case, an act of omission, that they did not attend to water quality, and absolutely at least minimum a case of 304A in the old IPC and now in the BNS 106 should be registered. Anything short of that would be negligence on the part of the government. The government would be remiss in not taking such a strict action, and only when this is done will it have an impact on other municipalities and corporations where such problems occur. And mind you, death caused furor, but as the doctor will also explain better, you see, mortality is one thing, but morbidity is another. See, people fall sick, they may not die, but it causes health problems, nutritional problems, stunting, and so on. The quality of health, quality of life of the people goes down. Why? This is just the tip of the iceberg. In every town, there's contamination from sewage water to drinking water. It keeps happening. In smaller areas, soak pits leak water pathogens into the groundwater, and when that is pumped out by hand pumps, people again fall sick. So it's a dire necessity that a drinking water map of every town should be made available. Only when this information is in the public domain, there'll be pressure on authorities to act. And mind you see, it's not resources. We keep wasting so many resources on just plain beautification, just cosmetic beautification, no impact. All these Chinese lights you see on poles, I mean, what's the impact? I mean, it has no impact. It only improves the Chinese economy. Spend that time, spend those resources, those rupees in providing this basic infrastructure necessity. And mind you, it's not that it's not happened. Puri, I was told about 4 or 5 years ago, they ensured the first priority was to provide clean drinking water on taps to people. It has not happened anywhere in the country. It's a top priority and should be attended to immediately.
Dr. Bagai, before I get back to the medical aspect, you are a very responsible doctor. You look at children particularly, and you're also a very socially conscious citizen. I have to ask you a very simple question. As a doctor, and I'm fully aware I'm asking this to a doctor, why mustn't the minister resign? Or why mustn't the minister leave his chair subject to inquiry? If these are the standards one expects in other sectors, why not where 15 deaths have happened under your nose, where netas have turned their blind eye? What have you been voted for?
Yeah, so we can spend more than a month trying to save a very sick child who's critically unwell in the ICU, and very often we sleep bedside or in the duty room with the patients to monitor it hour to hour, minute to minute, second to second. And here in a jiffy, we are losing many, many lives. Unfortunately, death should not be just a number. There has to be, like I said, accountability. But a very important point is that what we are going to see in the next 1 or 2 days is an immediate mortality figure. What really happens is a huge amount of morbidity which kicks in after day 4, day 5, day 7, and there is a disability loss in the number of years. There is a cognitive imbalance which takes place, school years lost, and a lot of other dysfunction, organ damage, which continues for years together. If we want, and this is from my heart, if we want India to be Viksit Bharat, if we want India to be a developed nation, if we want India to become one of the best superpowers ever seen on earth, before or on 2047, we need two things. We need corruption-free governance, we need clean air and clean water. Sewage into water, which we are consuming for routine consumption, amounts to death. I don't know what the legal connotations will be, but whoever the minister is, secretary is, chief secretary of state is, heads have to roll. Once a government servant knows his job is at stake, he will act.
Absolutely. In fact, this is just a very, very clear stand we are taking. If the chief minister is serious about the business of serving people, there has to be accountability. If the chief minister wants that people should have any sense of justice, it needs to start from the top. Heads cannot stop from the top of the pyramid. Ranjan Dwivedi, a very simple question again. When you have multiple reports coming in, when you have different versions, you know, somebody is saying 5 deaths, somebody is saying 18 deaths, somebody is saying 15 deaths, just how rotten is the system?
Madam, you know, I would not go into numbers. You know, that's what, you know, even if it's 5 deaths, it's very serious. It's not that 5 deaths is any less serious than 15. No, the issue is that responsibility ought to be fixed. And at least those people who are directly responsible for water quality, a case ought to be registered against them. It must be. You know, it's not a question of minister resigning or chief minister resigning or saying, but the person who's responsible for that, government servant, a case ought to be registered against him, and only then will the attention of other bureaucrats, other people in the system who are enjoined with this responsibility, they'll respond. Otherwise, you know, just transfer is nothing. After 3, 4, 5 months, even if you suspend somebody after 4 or 5 months, he'll be reinstated. No, that's no punishment. There's no indication of good political will to stop this problem. It has to be a registration of a case, and as I said, having water quality maps for the entire region. When this information is in the public domain, there'll be automatic pressure on the bureaucracy to act and give people drinking water, which is a very fundamental right. Pure water, I mean, what can be more fundamental? As the doctor also said, pure air, pure water. This is fundamental to healthy living.
Right. In fact, Dr. Bagai, one last question. We're completely out of time, but one last question, Dr. Bagai. Families are coming and saying, we mixed this sewage water, or we mixed this poisonous water, or we mixed this water not knowing that this was poisonous or this was contaminated or so on and so forth for our children, in their food, in their milk and so on and so forth, and our children died. Now, there's no postmortems which is being done. There is no medical examination being done. Just how easy is it going to be for the government to be able to buck this whole blame of criminal negligence? Because at the end of the day, how are you going to prove it that these deaths happened because of the government, because of the apathy, because of the negligence, and because of what the netas did not do that they should have done? So how are you even going to pin the evidence down if there is no evidence which is being collected about the deaths that have happened? It's about families making the allegations.
See, we are living in a scientific world. If we don't go stepwise in a cultured, systematic process, we won't get answers. First and foremost is we need it's a medico-legal case. We need autopsies on these children. We need to correct the sera, the blood, the tissue samples and hair. It will not only be E. coli, but it will be an overdose of heavy metals, toxins, or OPC, what we call it, organic phosphorus compounds and so on, which are all lethal, non-compatible with life. Point number 2, we need random sampling, not only in that area, but the adjoining areas of water and the other soil content, because it is leaking from the sewage into the water area. The water storage tanks, which the city has, and the sewage treatment plants need to be surveyed. We need a systematic process so that we can get at least a minimum amount of clean water. We see the poor people cannot afford RO, they can't afford to be boiling water. They ultimately rely on some source of water to quench the thirst. A poor life is as precious as anyone else's. An infant's life from a poor mother is as precious as my own child. What would I do? What would I react if I lose my child to this kind of apathy? I am again saying the people responsible have to be held accountable. Send them to jail. Let them lose their jobs. Let them lose their terminal benefits of pension. Name and shame. Let people know you do this, this is the consequence.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, we did not bring a political panel just for this reason. We did not want to get the horror just engulfed in political rhetoric. We have a doctor and we have a police top official just for this reason. They are people who have seen such cases up close. And when they say it is criminal negligence, and when they say people need to go to jail starting from the top, this is the experts of their domain speaking. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Ranjan Dwivedi, thank you very much for your time. Senior BJP leader and former Union Minister Uma Bharti sharply criticized the Madhya Pradesh BJP government over deaths linked to contaminated drinking water in Indore, calling the incident a shame. for the state, describing it as a crucial test of Chief Minister Mohan Yadav's leadership. In a series of posts on X, Bharti said the deaths caused by polluted water by the end of 2025 had disgraced our state, our government and our entire system, referring to Indore's repeated ranking as the cleanest city in the country. She said it was alarming that it had such ugliness, filth and poisoned water, and had claimed lives and continued to sicken residents. Calling the crisis a moment of reckoning for the Chief Minister, Bharti wrote, "This is a testing time for Mr. Mohan Yadav," tagging the BJP central and state leadership as well as the Chief Minister's office. In another post, Bharti questioned the conduct of officials handling the crisis, asking why those in charge continue to rely on packaged drinking water while remaining in office if the government's response plan had failed.